So what I suggest you do is you lay your colours out like I have here, and then you just pick up some colour and do exactly what I've done. Put it down on the canvas and swatches and mix some white with it to see how it responds with the white. This will give you a good idea of what that standard colour looks like. It'll show you if it's how opaque or transparent it could be. So if it's fairly transparent colour, you'll be able to see the white of the canvas shining through it. And when you put white with a colour, white's a very opaque colour, so of course that's going to make whatever you put it into go far more opaque than it was before. So as you can see, that's become a light yellow. It's quite greyed out in a way. It's very opaque. You can't see. I can see white canvas shining through here in places where the brush strokes are thin, but here you can't see that. That effect's gone completely. We'll use some burnt sienna now. Do the same thing with burnt sienna. Burnt sienna. I have got a little bit of yellow ochre on there, I think. There's some burnt sienna. And again, we mix some white with it. Makes a lovely warm grey. In painting, we tend to call grey, I mean, any colour can become a grey. It's not necessarily, grey is not necessarily made from black and white in oil painting. It's basically it's made from a colour that's been greyed out by white. Try some of this. This is called Cadmium Scarlet. This is a new red that I'm trying, and I really like it. It's a beautiful red for putting a touch of, if I put a touch of this red into a green that I'm mixing, for example, it really can warm the green up and make it a beautiful, beautiful warm green. So I'm finding it a good colour. I've been mixing it a lot with Windsor Blue, which is a colour I haven't got out here today, but Windsor Blue seems to be, you can get Windsor Blue green shade and Windsor Blue red shade, and the red shade, Windsor Blue red shade, it seems to be quite good for shadow colours in snow and also for sky colours. It's quite versatile. It's extremely strong, and in fact mixing some colours with it, you find that it's so strong you have to, if I was going to mix a green with it, for example, you do have to put quite a bit of yellow in it to kick it around towards the green. So I think we'll try this. We'll put some quinacridone rose. Now this colour I use for painting flowers, and also I use this to mix beautiful greys, purpley coloured greys. I use this in shadow colour and snow. It's a beautiful colour. It's transparent in nature, and it mixes beautifully with ultramarine blue and white to make lovely shadow colours. Put a bit of white with that, and this will go really pink. It's a hot, that's a cool pink, but it's a bright, vibrant pink. Now we're going to use some alizarin crimson directly underneath. Very similar colour than quinacridone rose. It's strong, deep, and it will make a pink, but the pink's not nearly as clean. It's a bit more opaque and dirty looking when it goes to a pink. So you can see that that's greyed out when I put white in it, and it's quite opaque, but it hasn't got the same intensity as this colour here. This is far more intense and perhaps going towards a pinky purple than this is. This is much more of a greyed out look. So the intensity is quite different between those two colours. See, quinacridone rose is the colour I would use for painting roses petals, and it does give you this beautiful look of light on a petal when you use it. And you can mix it with other colours to give it a little bit more warmth, or whatever you think is needed at the time. So we'll start with our ultramarine blue, which is a beautiful colour, transparent. Again, you can see through it, you can see that canvas shining through that thin mix. And we'll put some clean white in there and mix it in. We end up with this lovely deep blue. Now we'll use some of our phthalo blue, and phthalo blue, transparent, it's more of a green looking blue, and you'll see that when I mix white with it, it becomes a very, very bright light sky colour. Very intense. It's a strong colour. It's a beautiful colour. Awesome for mixing light greens. And now we're going to mix some greens. And so I think I'll carry on with I'll use the ultramarine blue first. And what we'll do, generally when you're mixing greens, it's a good idea to start with the yellow first, because it'll give you an idea. If I say, for example, I was to put yellow, if I was mixing a colour, I'm just going to demonstrate it here. This isn't how I would do it in practice, but you can tell that I've put a little bit of blue onto that yellow, and it's become quite a light green. Beautiful, beautiful light green. And then we can mix some white with that, and it whites out. Just picked up a wee bit of blue on there. There we go. So mix with white. And if you find that you're making a light green or a pink and it becomes very chalky looking, what I mean by that is the colour looks like it's got chalk dust sitting on top of it. What you can do is go back into your warm colour, if it's the yellow next to it. If you've got yellow in it already, mix a bit more yellow in, and that'll warm that chalky look up and take it away. Just like I've done there, it's stopped it being quite so chalky. So that green is made using ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow pale with white in it, and a little more cadmium yellow pale. And I'm going to mix one now with phthalo blue, and you'll see there is a big difference in the strength of the colour. I've mixed this slightly differently because I've got blue on the brush with the yellow. Just get my palette knife to take off any excess. And we'll put some more yellow in there and see how it responds to the yellow. I'll put quite a bit of yellow in. Here we go. Go into this with yellow. This will become quite a hot, what I would call an intense green. And you know, if you use it in a landscape painting, it would be a little bit too bright. This is probably more like a highlight colour on grass. This is a little garish and bright, but certainly you will find this colour in nature. can think of, you know, leaves and hedges. Bright sunlight could look like that. So that's phthalo blue mixed with cadmium yellow pale. And of course you could mix a far lighter version of it. If I start with more cadmium yellow, say I'll do it down here, I'll put far less blue in. Just using a dirty brush really, but as you can see, that's creating a light green, hot, light green. We'll mix some white with that. That didn't really work, did it? I had a dirty brush there. I'll try that again. I'll clean this brush up. I've used about 10 brushes now, so I better give them a bit of a wash. Okay, a bit of white. Put that in here. This green that I've mixed with the ultramarine blue and the yellow has got quite a red looking tinge to it, and I think that ultramarine blue tends towards the red far more than this. This tends towards the green, the phthalo blue, this towards the red to me. It's as if this is, you could add a little touch of red in there and you'd have a beautiful red grey. This would dirty up a bit more because it's got kind of a green base to it. So you can see the two greens that we've made here. This is a very green, this has got slightly more red in it. And it might be hard to pick up on the camera, but certainly that's the way. This is an intense green, and this is a slightly warmer, more earthy looking green. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix some oranges, and I really encourage you to get your paints out and to do this exercise. Spend some time playing with the colours, spend some time just painting colours next to each other and seeing how they relate and respond to each other, mixing white with all of your colours and mixing all of your colours with each other, one at a time. So, which is what we're going to do in a moment. I'll just wash these brushes. Now let's try some cadmium yellow pale. And let's mix that with a little bit of our quinacridone rose. And it's going to create a beautiful deep orange. Let's mix it right through now. That's lovely. So say we wanted to take that orange and turn it into a brown. So let's take some of our yellow again. Dirty brush this time, because there's no point in cleaning it for this little exercise. A bit more of that quinacridone rose. Now let's take one of our blues and put a touch of blue in there. And what the blue does is when you put it in there, is it neutralises the red look. It's taken it more towards the green. It's responded with the yellow. So if we put a touch more blue in there, now it's gone green, very green. But we're trying to make a brown. So you could say that's a green brown. I would call it a very dirty green. So how are we going to get that to go more like a brown? Well, if we add more red, which would be the complementary colour of green, we're going to demonstrate the complements in a minute. A bit more red in there, that kills the green look. So it's neutralising the green look. And we're getting closer to a brown. It's quite a red brown, but it is a brown. So as you can see, we can mix a brown by using 3 colours together. Our red, our yellow and our blue. Now if I put some white with that brown, it greys it out a wee bit. It's got a chalky look. You might not want that chalky look, so we'd have to put some warmth with it. We might try a bit of yellow, see if we can warm it up that way. Let's just see what that does. That's warming it up beautifully. Nice. Let's look at mixing some nice greys. So let's start with our quinacridone rose. And I'm mixing these on the canvas with the brush so you can see how they change. In reality, if you were going to mix a grey, you'd pick the rose up here and you'd pick a little bit of blue up and you'd mix them together and it would make this purple look here. Let's put a bit more of that here. Let's just see if we can get a little bit of that moisture off with that palette knife. Look at that. Just pick that up a wee bit. Now let's mix some white with that. We're ending up with this pink, very similar to what we had down here. We were trying to make a grey. So let's put some more blue in there. Beautiful purpley colour. It's a lovely purple. Let's put some more white in there. And a bit more blue. And a bit more white. And we've started to create this very nice light grey, beautiful colour. Could be used for all sorts of things. So say we felt that that grey was too blue. And we wanted to kill that blue look and make it warmer. What we could do is put a little bit of orange in it. Make a little bit of orange, let's say. And we'll just put this in and see if it neutralises that warm look. The cool look, rather. We'll see if that neutralises the blue look that we had there. Much warmer. Try that. Well, it's gone away from that cool blue, pinky looking grey, much more closer to a warm grey, beautiful warm grey. So mixing greys, if you're ever having trouble figuring out what a colour is, it's most likely a grey. And what I like to do when I'm looking at greys is try and figure out what colour family it's come from. So is it like this one, you'd say it's a pinky brown. You could say it's from the this family. You could say it's from the brown family. I'd say more from that family personally, from a pink. But oftentimes you'll look at a grey and it might have a blue tinge to it or a green tinge to it, and you try and pin it towards a colour family. And what I suggest you do when you're thinking about colour is you ask yourself questions. So the idea is to ask yourself, what colour family is it? So if it's a green, for example, like this, green here, so okay, it's a green. What kind of green is it? How warm is it? How cool is it? How dark is it? How light is it? And so you ask the question, and even ask it out loud to yourself when you're first starting is really good. But ask the question. See, if I look at this, I say that's a very intense green. And when I look at this one, I say that's a light green. It's an earthy looking light green. So if, for example, you were struggling doing that, think about the colour and think, how would I describe that colour to somebody over the telephone? And that might kind of get your mind working in a way, in a descriptive fashion, so you can start to understand what sort of blue that is and what sort of blue that is. And I like to look at a colour and think, how would it react with red? So let's put a bit of red in these two colours here and just see. We'll use some of that quinacridone rose. We're going to put a little bit in here and just see what that does. It becomes quite dirty. Dark, deep purple, quite a nice colour. Now we'll put a bit in that other, in this other colour, the other blue, and we'll see what that does. So it's responded far nicer to the red than this other one. As I said earlier, this would make a dirty purple, and it's because of the green nature of this colour. Whereas this one has got far more of a red, sort of a bend towards the red. And so this would make a lovely shadow colour in snow. If I put more white there and mix that in, you would end up creating quite a nice shadow colour that could be used in a snow painting. Touch more blue maybe. Something like that could be quite effective. And if you find that you're trying to mix a shadow colour for snow and it goes a little bit too red, you have to kill that red look somehow by putting a little bit of green in it. So you'd go perhaps to a wee bit of yellow, and then you think, oh, we're really starting to push this around now, but it will kill the green look, and it'll tend to make it, it'll kill the red look, and it'll tend to make it far more of a grey. Still a nice grey in comparison with this one. That's a good snow colour. Let's just quickly look now at a standard colour wheel, and we'll just talk a little bit about the colour wheel. So first of all, we start with a yellow, and then we would have a red, and then we would have a blue. Those three colours are our primary colours: red, green and blue. Now, as we've demonstrated down here, no two blues are alike, and our reds are very different in the outcome when we mix them with white. So, you know, having just one blue or one red isn't necessarily going to mean you can mix the colour you want to mix. But it does give you a starting point. So these are your primary colours, and out of those we mix what we call secondary colours. So we would mix the blue and the yellow together, like so, and we would come out with a green. And that's what it would be. These two colours mixed together would produce this. So they're secondary colours because they're mixed out of the primary colours, like so. And then if these two colours were mixed together, we would get an orange. And then if our red and our blue was mixed together, I'll chuck a wee bit of white in here to demonstrate it perhaps a little bit better. We will end up with a lovely purple colour. Bit of blue, bit of red. There's our purple. That's the secondary colours. And the colour complement on the colour wheel is the colour opposite. Orange, the complementary colour is blue. Blue, the complementary colour is orange. Yellow, the complementary colour is purple. Purple, complementary colour is yellow. Green, the complementary is red. And for red, the complementary colour is green. And it's important to remember that when you're mixing your colours and you're trying to make, for example, the brown we made earlier, and we went too green or too red, and we were able to knock it back by introducing the complementary colour. So if you're mixing a colour and you find it goes too orange, put a touch of blue in it. If it goes too purple, put a touch of yellow in it. And you use these colours to kill the look of the opposite. If I can demonstrate that for you, we'll try mixing a green. Probably quite a dark green like this, similar to what we've got there. Let's mix that. Now, we know that we've got a complementary of red and we've got our green. And if we put a little red in there and we go too far, we want it to go green, we're going to have to put more green in there. But you see, red has killed that green look. It's taken it more towards a brown. A little bit more red. Very much killed the green look. But as you can see, it always dirties the colour up. You're not going to get a lovely clean red if you've mixed green with it. Because essentially what we've done here, when you think about it, we've actually made our green by mixing these two colours together, and then we've introduced a third colour, which is a perfect recipe for brown. And so this is what we've ended up with. Let's put a little bit more red in there. Let's put some white in there. Lighten it off. I want to see if I can push it back towards green. Okay, let's try and put a big dob of this yellow in. A bit more. It's become a very warm brown. There we go. We're starting to get a yellow look there. Now let's try putting a wee bit of the blue in, and we're starting to go back to the green look. But it's never going to be as clean as it was when we started. Not unless you mix a big pile of it. Basically you're better to start again if you were trying to get it back to that sort of a green. I just want to touch on a final couple of points for you to consider. When I mentioned earlier on, you ask the colour questions. What kind of green is it? Is it cool? Is it warm? Usually a colour's cool or warm in relation to what it's next to. For example, if you look at these two colours here, you would say that this orange is a warmer colour to this brown. And if you looked at the brown and the green, you would say that that brown is a warmer colour to the green. When you look at that orange and you look at that red, you would have to say that that red is a warmer colour than that orange. So it's always in relation to what it's next to. Because you're actually, it's a game of comparison. Painting is all about comparisons, comparing one thing to another. So what I'm going to do now, just as we finish this session on colour, I hope you've got something out of this. I know it's been made, colour has been made quite complex, people's theory on colour, and really the important thing to realise is give a colour a name, a family name, orange, red, and then say what kind of orange is it or what kind of red is it. This orange here compared to this orange here. This is a far browner looking orange. This is more intense, possibly slightly more transparent. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to describe it as if I was talking to someone over the telephone. And when you do that and you start to look at an object, you will actually start to say, okay, that's an orange vase and it's quite an earthy looking orange. It's not, it could be this colour or it could have more of that mixed into it, but you'll start to think, how am I going to make that? What's it made of? Yellow and red, a bit of white, a bit more yellow, and you'll start to actually combine those colours to mix what you're looking for. So you're always thinking, what is the colour family? How dark, how light, how warm, how cool? Is it intense or has it got white in it? Is it transparent or is it opaque? Can I see through the colour to the canvas, or is it very opaque and solid looking? These are the questions you ask yourself. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to demonstrate what you would do in this situation here. The next colour, of course, is what they call the tertiary colours. It's kind of, if you like, it's the next stage away from the secondary, and they're made, of course, they're an in-between colour, so you would have a yellow-green, and then you would have a green-blue, like that. There's a good green-blue. Then you would have a blue-violet, blue-violet. Chuck a little bit more of that in there. That's good. A red-violet. Let's see. Oh, I need more red. That's a bit more red, isn't it? Needs a wee bit more, perhaps. More like that. A red-orange. That's right, here. That's pretty good, I think. I think it's about right. Yeah, that's pretty well right. And then we'd have a yellow-orange. It's going to be far more yellow than it is red. It's going to have a wee bit of red in it, but far more yellow. Something along these lines here. More towards the yellow than the red, that's for sure. The important thing to realise is paint what you see as far as colour goes. Unless you're really knocking something way away from what it originally is, if you paint what you see and you like what you're painting, what you're looking at, and as a general rule you should end up with a good painting. So, you know, we don't have to overcomplicate things. Remember that these colours, they've all been given a name so they can be described to somebody. And when we ask ourselves the question, that's really the answer to discovering what we're looking at. When we ask those questions, how warm, how cool, how dark, how light, and what colour family is it in? And if we're struggling to find a colour, chances are it's a grey. So I hope that's been a help to you as far as the colour mixing goes, and it's been a lot of fun doing this. I hope you've enjoyed it, and get your paints out and make some colour charts. Thanks for watching.